When did you first grow curious about the paranormal? Dare you dig deeper? You are listening to Hounds of Asher.
And welcome to another episode of House of Asher. I'm your host, Steve Asher, and we have with us tonight our guest host, Nisi. Say hello, Nisi.
Hello.
And we have a four-legged visitor with us. Who do we have with us today?
We have Dot. She's a wire-haired chihuahua.
Okay. Well, what do you have to say, Dot? Anything? You're just going to breathe real weird and hang your tongue out. Anyway. But that will not be our only guest tonight. Like I said, we got a very good guest, and we will be bringing her on here just a few. And we're going to be talking a lot of stuff about, aliens and different type of things like cryptids and whatnot. Miss Robyn Moonshadow will be our guest in a few. But before we get too into that, I do want to remind everybody, and first, that, we are doing this through YouTube. We also do Spreaker, Spotify, iHeart, iTunes, just pretty much most of the things that are out there. Also through Para UK Radio out of England, and we're always in their debt for the fact of getting us around everywhere and being kind enough to carry our little mom and pop and mutt face show. And as always, thank you guys for tuning in. And if you are checking us out on you probably see links on Facebook and also on YouTube. If you don't mind, click and subscribe, tell a friend about it, and as always, if you got questions, guest suggestions, critiques, whatever, recipes, I like recipes, whatever you got, we'll take it. We appreciate your guys' input as always. Nisi.
Yes.
What's up?
It's been a nice day today.
It's been pretty cool. It's getting ready to drop. It's going to come down in sheets, as I guess you guys would say, like up north, it would be a real pissa. It'll be a real pissa. It's going to be something like that. I guess I can say that on the radio.
I thought that was more of a Maine thing.
Maine. Well, that's north. North
yeah,
of everything.
well, I have never been that north.
You've never been to Maine?
No.
Okay, I've been to Maryland. You never been to Maryland?
No.
How north have you been? Is this
Chicago, but...
Chicago? Okay. Well, it's okay. There's a lot of good ghost stories from Chicago, too. So anyway, as we all know, we're going through this COVID madness, and we touched a little bit on about paranormal things, obviously, last time. We talked a little bit about if people think that paranormal activity is picking up, if they think it's lessening. Do you think it's more or less not really changing? If it just stays a constant, it's not affected by different things that's going on around it? I guess maybe a looping haunting would do that. But that's one of the things that we can kind of touch on and get in touch, see where their head is at on this. This dog is just staring holes to me. What? I think the dog wants a snack. Do you want a snack, dog? You'll get it. If you're good, we got a snack. You'll get a snack anyway. I spoiled this dog. But anyway, I should probably quit talking about this dog and welcome our guest on, Miss Robyn Moonshadow. Are you there, Robyn?
I'm here. How are you guys doing?
I'm groovy. How you doing, Nisi?
Doing very well.
Okay, she waves. It's radio. It waves doesn't.
Well,
makes waving sound. Pantomime. She's doing pantomime.
Yes.
But,
waving sounds here.
Makes waving sound back.
Yes. There
you go.
Let me ask you.
Swish, swish, swish.
Swishy, swish. We were discussing about, with COVID happening, how do you feel, if anything, it's affected paranormal activity? Do you think that without the stimulation, that's not a sound effect, folks, it's thunder. Without the presence of humans, does it just keep going? Is it fed off human energy? And if that's true, as sort of a amendment or whatever to that, addendum or however you say it, with all the energy that people are dealing with, the stress, the fear, all of that goes with what COVID is and life post-COVID, do you think maybe it's causing more energetic powers for things to feed off of?
Well, I think people may be noticing it more now because we're home now more than ever. And two, well, with everything going on with the COVID, the stress and the fear, a normal spirit would not feed off of that. A dark entity of some sort would definitely be feeding off of that. They'd be full to overflowing. Because these dark energies love negativity. Just love negativity.
Well, and that's the thing, too. I mean, you hear so many things. I'm a bit of a conspiracy guy. You've heard everything from, there is definitely a COVID virus out there. Some people saying it's not as bad as the flu. Some people say the flu kills more people. Some people say that, you hear everything. It's a scam for this or that or whatever. And I have heard that they've said that certain deaths were attributed to COVID that wasn't exactly COVID, or they said it was complications from COVID. So I don't know. It depends if you believe your government and believe whatever other governments. I try to be a good citizen. I'm doing air quotes. I'm trying to be a good citizen, but I also don't walk blindly into stuff. I try to get different news sources and different things like that. So I don't know. I mean, I think it's something definitely happening, but I don't know. I think people are get a little too
what
petrified
I've seen what I saw in the beginning. Okay, first it was treated like another type of SARS, where we just assumed that it was going to go away, like the bird flu or the swine flu, and of course it hasn't.
Right.
With this particular virus doesn't act like a typical SARS virus. This targets your weak spots, so it affects different people differently. Like I was just in the United States in February, so I was down there for a week, and I got back under the wire, so to speak, because it hit pretty bad in March. So I was back here in time, and of course it affects people differently. So yes, some people it could affect really seriously to the point of death, and another person it could be just like a really bad cold or fever, and they recover really good and fine.
Yeah.
But a few countries now have a vaccine for it. One of the vaccines was developed here in Quebec. And I'll be getting that vaccine. So I have allergies. I don't have asthma because my allergies came later in life. But for somebody like me who does have allergies and underlying conditions, I have to be more careful. So yes, I will be getting the vaccine.
Okay.
Not too quick, though. I got to let it go through all its trials, and it has to be mass-produced. And for me, this is really interfering with my field research.
Well, let me ask you this on talking about how it affects people differently and whatnot. Do you feel, and again, I'm reaching, but I'll explain why I'm reaching. Do you feel that this SARS virus has maybe been, I'm going to say engineered, but maybe in some way altered through like nanotechnology, or do you think it's like, there's 5G out there now, and could that be interacting with the type of viruses and things, or maybe our way of dealing with how you deal with viruses and stuff like that?
Well, yeah, because basically it's pretty much a plague, and it spreads like a plague from people to people. We've seen through history how this works. The biggest plague came down the Silk Road and hit everybody. And we're seeing the same type of thing right now, where it just spreads from people to people.
Right.
And now, I'm not a conspiracy theorist whatsoever, but I do know a little bit about viruses, given my background. To me, and I'm not a doctor, but to me, given the fact that through our Neanderthals and Denisovans ancestors, we have immunities to all kinds of SARS that have been, passed down through us, like I said, through our ancestors. Now we get this particular strain, and it doesn't, to me anyways, it does not act like atypical virus. And like I said, it targets your weak spots and hits that pretty hard. So to me, it's suspicious.
I
Now,
have a
as in
question.
nanotechnology, now for nanotechnology, I don't think we're quite that advanced yet, because with nanotechnology, and I'd love nanites. I'd love to have nanites. Nanites would take away my allergies. Just, go to the doctor and get a shot, or however it would work. Maybe drink a glass of water. And the nanotechs would take care of my allergies, and I'd be, healthier than a horse.
I have a
But
question,
if it was
Robyn.
nanotechnology and was targeted, that thing, we would be seeing a lot more SARS death.
All right, I have a question
Which
for you.
question?
Do you think that this virus was possibly not ready to be released because they didn't have the vaccine for it?
You're considering what we've been told. Okay, we've been told for years. Okay, if a new big virus comes along and hits us, we're ready for it. Well, they weren't ready for it. All the governments are scrambling to get this thing under control, and it just went crazy. So if it was engineered on purpose and it got out somehow, well, it started in China by somebody who ate a bat, and he spread that. By patient 0 spread that.
Okay. You just said this.
Do I think?
I'm sorry. Nisi had this, that look, you try to give your kid lima beans or something, and they got that kind of crinkle nose look. What people failed to realize, it's maybe not been out very much, especially in, more indigenous areas, parts of, like you said, China and Thailand and places like that. Bad is on the menu. Insects are on the menu.
Yep.
Pretty much whatever they can catch is on the menu. A lot of places will eat monkeys and whatnot. It's just part of their culture. So,
Right.
because most people go, "What was this guy crazy already eating bats?" Like, no, that's like you going out and ordering a piece of veal.
Hot dog.
Yeah.
And
Go
they
ahead.
also live in a communist society where the top rule and the bottom starve.
Right.
In Mexico, it's a thing to be polite and eat whatever's put on your plate, and to finish it, whether you like it or not. Say, yum, thank you. And then if they offer you seconds, you say, no, thank you, I'm full, I'm good. But I understand, too, like in those other countries where bats or bugs, tarantulas, whatever it is offered, that you need to smile and eat it. Right?
Yeah, I see. With me, I'd probably starve in these countries because, for spiritual reasons, I do not eat some of these things. I don't eat bugs, and I'm not going to eat a bat, and I don't eat anything with a foot. For your audience who don't know, that I'm First Nations, and my
Anything with a
particular belief
foot.
is something with a paw. Anything with a paw.
Oh, okay.
A squirrel, a raccoon, even a bear. Because to us they are our brothers and sisters. And it's funny, right? Because we knew that before evolution knew that.
Okay, go ahead.
No, I was just saying, no, it's interesting because we'll talk about, this sort of, and I'm sure I'm going to butcher this because, again, my connection to what native roots I've got are many, many, many generations back. But sort of I believe it's the animist belief that, the mountain has a spirit, the air has a spirit, the water has a spirit, and everything.
That's shamanism, yeah.
Right, and everything's connected and of equal value for its rights and sovereignty and stuff.
Yes, that's right, yeah. It's the circle, the never-ending, never-beginning circle, and everything is one and one is everything. And if you take something out of that circle, the circle is broken and you have chaos. Right. It's a belief in unity and equality, in everything, in good and neutral, like a yin and yang.
Right.
And that just doesn't extend to like mankind. It extends to animals and the world and the universe.
Well, let me ask you. And I'm playing devil's advocate on this a little bit. I know you have issues in regards of things with feet. Okay, would introducing nanites into your system, and it might be getting into your belief system you don't want to talk about, that's fine. But since we brought it up, introducing something like a nanite, unless it's like a nanite that would be made from your own cells, like they would tweak your own cells, put it back in, would that be okay, or is it introducing something foreign? Would that be a problem?
Nanites would be okay with me because they would be, if treated the right way, they are a helpful thing.
Okay,
imagine having nanites that could cure cancer.
Right. See, you're thinking very
that
forward
would be
thinking.
Awesome.
You're thinking forward thinking. I'm thinking I could run like Steve Austin and do the and jumping over. That's how advanced I am. You know, that would be pretty groovy. Being able to jump 20 foot over something or not get winded.
And that's that sounds a bit more like DNA manipulation. I'm not for DNA manipulation.
So nanites, are they? And this is going to come out weird, but some parasites don't affect the host in a negative way, but a positive way.
Oh yeah, flatworms. And I was reading about this a couple of years ago when I first developed my allergies. Flatworms will live in your lower intestines, and people who have flatworms don't have allergies.
Really?
I'm not going to go. Yeah, I'm not going to go and try that.
Oh yeah,
It's the idea of parasites, right? But could you imagine somebody who has allergies so bad that is an alternative for them?
Well, like allergies to the sun, allergies to water.
Well, there's treatments. I mean, just like.
Oh, I get treatments. Yeah, my allergy shots. They make me sick just about every time I get them, but they do work. So, I mean, the alternative is to get rid of my cats, and I have 6 cats,
right?
And I have one right now has cancer, and it's very rough. He was given 2 months to live. It's now been 4 months, and it's in his face. They can't remove it. It's very disheartening. He's 17 years old, and he's still as healthy as a horse, and he's still going strong. Aww. So I have to look at alternative medicines for him now, even if it's to shrink the tumor in his face.
You know, I had seen a thing. I'm sorry, go ahead.
Yeah, because it's a waste. Like I said, his name is Frodo, of course. I've had him since he was a baby. He's part Bengal. He's a beautiful cat. He's just awesome. And it's in his face. And he's still going strong. You should talk about nanites. See, nanites would help my cat, that's for sure. And it's kind of sad to me that people can get radiation, but my cat can't. Because, like I said, he's still going strong. But it's going to get to the point where it's going to grow into his nose cavity and affect his breathing.
Oh.
And it's very sad, and I still have a hard time talking about what I might have to do, but I can't let him suffer. So we're going to try some alternative medicines, and we'll see how that works, even if it works enough to shrink the tumor and to treat the cancer itself.
Well, I'm hoping to God that will work out for you, and little guy will get better. I was going to say, too, you were talking about flatworms, and it made me remember something. I was one of those kids that would, want to go to the science museum and, like you said, see the leeches in the water. But apparently we, like, just by the way our bodies work, we have, like, a lot of bacteria, good bacteria, like, in our intestines. And, like, somebody said we were, like, I don't know if that number is right, but, like, 25, 30% bacteria and different sort of things throughout our body. And if we actually killed them, we wouldn't be able to survive. So, like you said, maybe
that's true. Look what happens when you take antibiotics. You feel wiped out because antibiotics take out the good bacteria. So then you have to put it back. So usually a doctor who knows will tell you to eat yogurt because yogurt's full of good bacteria. So
like to reset.
Eat yogurt while you're taking antibiotics. It's not going to make you jump up and start doing cartwheels, but it will make you feel better. You can function better instead of just, feeling lousy.
Well, and then you also have to look too. People say, which I think there's been cancers. Actually, there's been different type of cancers throughout history, because everybody goes, well, my great grandparents didn't, I mean, it was there, but I don't think it was to the extreme it is now. And I don't think so much it's always pollutants, because like early settlements were nasty. All the coal burning, all that stuff. That's why people live to be 40. But it seems like, I don't know. Maybe it's the food we're putting in our bodies, the waters that we're drinking. Some of it could just be our vibrations. If you want to get kind of into that, if you stay sort of in a low
it's
vibratory
generational
plane.
too. I mean, it's in your DNA as well. Like both of my parents died from cancer. Now that wasn't genetic. That was the asbestos that was in the house. So like all of us kids who grew up in that house, we have to be careful.
Right. Well, yeah, that's the thing. I mean, asbestos was like a miracle. Remember, like it was back in the day, you got a toothache, here, try this cocaine. Here's some laudanum for whatever. And the next new thing is the new miracle thing. It's sort of like, which I'm not comparing like CBD or something to that. I know a lot of people that swear by CBD and it's changed their lives. I always wanted to get my son on that, because he has CP and all that. And kind of went round and round with my ex about it and stuff. Some people, obviously, you want to see the trials, you want to see this and that. But like a person walks into a room with a clipboard and a white smock, whatever, half of them are going to go, well, okay, he said it, I believe it, because we're conditioned to, authority figures. Which I'm like, okay, does that work? Can you tell me, you who have been using it, or you whose kids who have been able to do this, now will it work? And like you said, I think because we've dealt with so much pharmaceuticals, like you always hear about, like Zan, I don't want to say certain brand names, I don't get flagged, but certain sort of whatever. And then a couple months down the road, did you get, I don't know, anal seepage or something from something? I don't know why I went to anal seepage, but some sort of thing, hives, you're growing a fin out of the back of your head, whatever, from this and that, here, call this lawyer. And so I always kind of step back and wait, about a year before I try new medicines, because there's always some side effect, from pharmaceuticals. It's always a trade-off.
Right. Because as human beings, we are not all the same. So what might work for a vast majority of people might not work for for this one particular person, because our DNA is different.
Right.
In this future, we have to have medications and such that are designed for our specific DNA. Like as I was saying, with my allergy shots, they make me sick every time. And other people have absolutely no problem whatsoever, and have the same doctor, and have the same, dosage as I do. He told me one woman who suffers severely from hay fever, she's had shots for 6 years. Now I'm going on 4 years now with my shots. But she had to have shots for 6 years before she got relief. Now I'm lucky where I know my shots are working, but it's really rough. Now, I'm not going to tell everybody don't do it, because it's horrible. I think given the alternative of if it's a cat or an animal allergy, try the shots. It's not as bad as I might have it, because we are all different. And getting back to COVID, it affects us all differently.
I wonder if it will, like you always say, okay, it's going to get so many people, it's going to hit so many people, and a certain amount of people are just going to have a natural defense against it. It seems like in pandemics and whatnot, that's sort of how that works. And obviously the ones who get it and don't make it, there's not much you can do about it. The ones that get it and survive it, hopefully they can build up the antibodies. And the ones who are protected from it, short of being like a carrier, it is what it is. I think May have talked to you
it'll
before.
take a couple generations for like our maybe our great grandkids will have an immunity to this here. And as for COVID, considering the amount of people that it's gone through, I haven't heard that it's mutated yet. I find that actually kind of strange, because we know that the flu mutates every year. That's why we got to get a different type of flu shot every year.
Right. that's why I wonder, or why it seems like I think some people think it is an engineered thing, or if not engineered, tweaked, played with a little bit. Because, like you said, it's not behaving like most natural viruses and things like that act. But I'll tell you what, if you want, I'm going to do a quick commercial break for the folks over at Apparel UK Radio, and we will be right back with you. Everybody hold on. We'll be right back after this commercial break with Miss Robyn Moonshadow, and we'll be discussing Strange Realms and her new podcast and everything creepy and odd. We'll be right back. And we're back. How are you doing, everybody? It just seems like we were just here a second ago, didn't it? We are with our guest, Robyn Moonshadow, and we were touching on everything from, Lord, man, you name it. We were kind of all over the place. And I was even able to slide some anal seepage into the conversation. It's hard to do here, especially among Baptists, but I got it done. So let's touch on a little bit, not the anal seepage. Touch on, how many times am I going to say it? One more time, anal seepage. Strange Realms. Strange Realms, and we're going to talk a little bit about the new podcast that you got going. That seems like it's popping off pretty well. What's new on that realm? Pardon the pun.
My American research partner, Dwight Campbell, and I, we've been kicking around the idea of doing a podcast for a year and a half, give or take. We had to think, what are we going to call it? Well, we couldn't really come up with a name. One of the names that we did think of was Electric Circus, but that didn't really fit for what we were going to do with it. And then kicking around what it was going to be about. And we think that in the cryptid world and the unusual, experience, education, and information is important because there's so much hullabaloo going on out there right now. And we want to try to keep it straight. And like I say, inform people. Dwight's been doing Sasquatch, Bigfoot research for many, many years. And he has an active interest in, even UFOs. And for anybody who doesn't know me and heard me talk, I've had an active interest in especially the cryptid world since I was 5 years old. 5 years old. And I started going out and doing field work when I was 10 years old. So as soon as I was old enough to go into the woods by myself, I was gone. And I had my first Bigfoot encounter at the age of 13, which was just a wow for me. I think I've mentioned that before on our previous podcast, so if anybody wants to go back and check that out, they can. So between the two of us, we're pretty active, and we continue to be active. And we've been doing it for a long time, like I said. So we put this podcast together, and a mutual friend of ours from Pennsylvania put our name together in some field work that we had done down there with them. And my group being called Strange Realms, and my partner's group, and he's in North Carolina, and his group is called Dirty South Squatchin'. So our mutual friend put the two names together and called it Strange and Dirty. And I thought that was hilarious. So then we said, well, why don't we use that? Because it kind of stuck with us now. So now when we do things together, when I'm in the States, it's always Strange and Dirty doing this or Strange and Dirty doing that. And it's funny and it's catchy. And I did have a bit of a problem when I first put it on the Facebook page that I got tagged.
Right, exactly.
Right, because of the name. And so we put Strange and Dirty Cryptid Podcast, but that was okay, so we went with that. But it had a bit of a funny start, and we split everything down the middle, and he even made up the intro music for our podcast. We had something else in mind, and we couldn't get the licensing for it. So, and that was down at the last minute where this happened. So she threw that music together, and it works. So each week, we'll do a classic Bigfoot encounter or a classic cryptid encounter, and put our experience and our knowledge to work, and kind of explain it. And if we think it's a hoax story, we're going to say it's a hoax story. Like we just did one that you'll hear in the future where I don't believe that it happened, but he does. And then I'll go on and explain why I don't believe that it was real or that account happened. And he'll explain why he believes it's real. And we ask for comments and what you think. Nobody's going to bash each other in our groups, that's for sure. Because it's for education purposes. And if you want to learn about these cryptids, pop on over. My group is called Strange Realms on Facebook. I also write a blog. I know I'm really behind in that. But I hit the field really hard last year doing field work. So it's lagged a little bit, but I am getting back to that, and that's strangerealms.net.
Your field work, what exactly do you do? Like, you go for...
Because she's new.
Yeah,
new to
I'm new
world.
to this.
Oh, for our field research. There are researchers who will go online and read books and do their research that way and put something really phenomenal together. But as for field research, I will go into areas and look for a particular cryptid, which would be, for me, there are no experts in this field, that's for sure, because we don't know everything. But I think we can specialize in something. For me, that would be proto-pygmies, which are little people, and I do have pictures, very clear evidence of little people. I also have foot casts, plaster foot casts from little people.
Is this like the Pryor Mountain little people that we're talking about? Or
That's exactly. And there's multiple types of little people.
Right.
Multiple types of little people, and they're just about worldwide. It's just we're not looking for them. We're not paying attention. And something else I specialize in is Bigfoot. Now, when I was little, I was always interested in these things. So it wasn't one particular thing that led me to become a cryptozoologist. It's just something I wanted to do besides be a veterinarian. So when I got older, I really pursued this. Now my kids are out of the house. Now I can do this full time. So field work is going out into an area and looking for a specific cryptid. I like to kind of put it all together because proto-pygmies, a.k.a. little people, and Sasquatch, Bigfoot, share the same territories. There's no competition for food or space. So many times I will find little people footprints and Bigfoot footprints in the same areas. That's fabulous.
Have you ever gone to Ireland to find little people?
No. You don't need to go that far. A leprechaun is part of the gnome family. A leprechaun is a part of the gnome family, and last year in Pennsylvania I did find gnome boot prints in the mud. It was phenomenal. Like, I've been looking for a long time. I get native little people footprints. I've got a Mene Goessing, which is indigenous to my area, and I'm like, I have to find a gnome boot print or footprint, and I did. In Pennsylvania, he was probably a woodland gnome, and it was just awesome to me. I was being filmed. So this is funny. I was being filmed, and I'm trying to keep my cool. Just be really cool and calm. People are watching. I got to be cool and all professional about this. But meantime, in my head, I'm jumping for joy. I wanted to jump down and go, look. I got to be cool. Got to be calm. But yeah, it was phenomenal to find that. So yeah.
Well, let me ask you this. We've talked a little bit, about little people and things like that, and I'm trying to remember. We've touched on a lot of stuff. I think we talked about like the giant spiders of the Congo and some of
the Jabal Fofi, yeah.
Yeah, and which we hear a lot about cryptids that, like you said, are either very large, very small, or inhuman. Are there any kind of cryptids that are basically human-looking? I mean, I guess if you consider, I mean, would you consider something like a lycanthrope or a werewolf or like a were-jaguar from different parts of the country? Would you consider that a cryptid?
Yeah, I don't believe in werewolves. Yeah, I don't believe in werewolves. Now, if you're talking about a specific type of odd-acting wolves, like the ones that are on Bray Road, I admit those ones act particularly strange.
Well, do you think that's more nature or nurture? Do you think it's more maybe their interactions with humans? Or do you think that that's a learned behavior from being in that situation and just through, like you said, so many generations that maybe the more aggressive ones in that area bred more? What do you think causes that?
Well, I think that that's more probably a mutation of some sort. If they can, in fact, walk on their hind legs, that's a mutation. That would be something that would have to be generational. And if they're walking on their back legs, well, they'd probably walk on four legs as well. And do that for a long period of time, like not just walk, a few feet, like it's not like a trick. Like we see our pet dogs. Even I've seen my cat do that one time. It freaked me right out because it was so odd.
Yeah, it is.
But she will. She'll walk on her back legs and take a few steps. It's just to look at something to get a better view of it.
Right.
But for something to be able to walk on its back legs for a long period of time, yeah, that would be a mutation.
Well, do you think
it would
that
have to be something specific to that animal in that area? I do plan on going to that area in the future and probably put up some trail cams, and I can track animals. So we'll see how that goes. I'm not afraid. I'd be cautious, but I'm not afraid.
Well, go ahead. She was going to ask a
I
question.
had a couple of questions, too, specifically. You don't believe in werewolves, but do you believe in shapeshifters?
Well, I'm Chiricahua Apache, my ancestors are, so that is part of our belief system.
Okay.
For us, shapeshifters, skinwalkers, they will wear the skin of an animal and become that animal. So it's not, for us, it's not more in a sense as to literally change into that beast in physical form. It's more mental.
The second question
And
I have...
They will act like that. Because I can't give too much away because that's something I've been asked not to bring up and go into depth about it by my elders, so I can't.
Right. Well, I mean,
okay, I'm so sorry.
It gives you an idea. It's okay. No problem. I will say what I can say.
Right. And I've spoke to... westernized folks who kind of scoff and don't get it. It's like, well, I'm like, look, there's certain, I have family that are Masons and things like that. There's just some things they don't talk about because you don't want it scoffed at, because if it's part of your belief system and your religious, pantheon or whatever. So it's not that you worship the skinwalkers. What I mean, but it's all part of the circle of the tribe. This is me again. It's cringy because I'm trying to say it through westernized eyes, and I apologize if I'm butchering it. But like you said, it's a thing of
it's okay.
It's not a thing of you're trying to go, well, you don't need to know this. It's just like we honor this, and you don't want to, especially if something that's very strong that could turn around and be negative if it wants to, you don't want that on you either.
Exactly. It's just something that we don't bring up in, and we don't want it to be taken out of context, and a lot of times it is misunderstood. So with things like that, we can only talk about it so much.
All right. She had another question, I believe.
My second question is, have you ever been on a cryptid hunt, right? Research, where you have felt afraid of something that might be near, or like if you're the giant spider of the Congo, right? Like, were you extra aware of your surroundings because of fear or anything?
You mean was she tuning in to the creature on some deeper level than just
That, or did she ever feel in danger?
oh
Trying
yeah?
to
Did you ever
find-
feel like there was a chance you might get gobbled
Eaten?
up or smacked around? Yeah.
No. When I was 13 and had my first encounter, no, that really scared me. Yeah, and it really bothered me for 2 weeks. But when I calmed myself down and realized he didn't do anything to hurt me, he wasn't aggressive towards me, then I was fine. Now, I have been followed. I've been followed by coyotes, wolves. I was mauled by a bear.
Okay.
And last year, my partner and I were followed by a mountain lion. But no, bears do make me nervous now because of what happened to me, but afraid, no. I am aware of my surroundings, but when I go into an area, especially one that is really not familiar to me, I become in tune with things
Okay.
because I have very good instincts. I was, born and raised in the country, and we're kind of brought up from the cradle about, a bear, black bear. If you're going to be attacked by a black bear, these are the things that you do. If it's a brown bear, these are things that you do. And we don't have big cats in the area, then this is what you do. So, it's kind of like knowing an animal's behavior and how they're going to react to you and how you respond to that. Cats and bears will develop this look on their face. It's called a predatory look. Even the way they act will change. They will look like they want to eat you, if they can. And then there's other looks that they will have, like a fearful look or a playful look.
So when
and
they
then
look like
you
they
act
want,
in according. When they look like they want to eat you,
is it like a more intense, focused look on you?
it is. They'll drop their head down and they'll look up at you and they won't take their eyes off you. They'll be almost in step with you. If you go left, they'll go left. You go right, they'll go right. And it's actually very frightening. This hasn't happened to me. I've seen it online a few times where they had a predatory look. Black bears, you can almost always scare them off. For my case, when I was attacked, and this was in British Columbia over 20 years ago, the gentleman I was with, we rounded a corner, and there she was, with 2 or 3 little babies. And I'm thinking, oh crap, okay? And before I had a chance to do anything, make her aware that I was there, she ran. That's the worst thing you can do that triggers their fight or flight response. She's got babies. She's coming after you. You just ran. And I didn't run. I dropped down and played dead. Because she was coming right at me. She rolled me around a few times with enough incentive where I could keep my face down. She put her claws into my backpack and she ripped it. But she did it with enough force where she did pick me off the ground a couple inches and drop me down. She went off for a few minutes, and then she came back, and she hopped and threw some dirt at me, and then she went away. I waited. It was probably maybe 5 minutes, but of course it seemed like an eternity. And I got up, and I went and I found the gentleman that I was with, and he's no longer a researcher. He should never, ever go into the woods again. If he reacts like that, he could get somebody killed.
Sure.
But I did. I'm not a violent person, but to me, if I had reported what happened, they would have went and shot that bear. Okay, that was not her fault. And to me, that was his fault. She was protecting her babies. No, I didn't do anything. We didn't do anything. But by running, he triggered her. So it was his fault. And I did. I punched him right in the eye.
Wow.
I told him never
You punched him?
contact me again. I punched him right in the eye. I told him never contact me again. And as far as I knew, I just left him standing in the woods. I left the park, and I came home.
Well,
And
Well, you were
What got
talking.
me is on the way in. On the way in, he was talking to one of the game wardens.
Thank you.
And I'm thinking, okay, well, maybe he's talking to him about, have you seen any Sasquatch friends, heard them, whichever. No, that warden was telling him there was a bear in our area, and he didn't tell me.
Oh. Well, let me ask you
He
this.
didn't think it was important, apparently.
All right. We all kind of know what to do in regards, or you can look it up and kind of learn kind of what you do and don't do with animals, and certain animals are going to be drawn to whatever might. Maybe you got a perfume that's got kind of a floral smell to it, or sweet, or if you bring some certain type of food in your backpack, they're going to zone in on it because they really like certain types of food.
Yeah, don't carry open food. Don't carry open food. Everything should be in at least 2 Ziploc bags.
Right.
Even water. You have to watch it with water, too.
Have you ever saw somebody go after, like, you always see, like, on, I don't know, I'm just like a name, like Finding Bigfoot or something. They'll be out there and they'll make the calls and they'll knock on some stuff and they'll set up some cameras. But have you ever seen somebody said, okay, that's the direction, and people trail off after it? I'm not saying they got to come in there and be gun-toting or anything like that. But have you seen it where they more or less went after the animal, and if so, what happened?
No. We don't work that way. We work 2 ways. We will go into an area and we will look for signs. And through my research, I know that there are in certain areas, remember this is over many, many years, certain areas at certain times of the year. So we'll go in those areas at these specific times of the years to get something. Now, for me, I'll only whoop and holler once in a blue moon, and only wood knock on occasion. Wood knocking for Bigfoot is a communication with each other. You'll usually hear 2 wood knocks, followed by another 2 wood knocks further off in the distance. This is usually indicating, something's coming, or usually humans are coming. It's usually 2 wood knocks. I know in some areas, as funny as this is, them ones can count. 4 people go in, and you hear 4 wood knocks.
That's pretty cool.
Some are smarter than others.
Well, I wonder if that knock is not. I mean, it would make sense. They go boom, boom, boom. Right, they're counting 4 of us. But are they counting out to their other friends? Like going, bam, bam. There's 4 possible threats down here.
Yeah. You'll have. It's what I call a sensory behavior. We also see this in things like meerkats. You have like your lookouts, and these are just my observations for doing this over many, many years. Like I said, I call it sensory behavior. You'll have lookouts posted, and when you go in, you'll hear the wood knocks, and then further off in the distance, you'll hear another set of wood knocks, and then way past that, if you're lucky, you can hear another one. So they got their locations mapped out pretty good. And if you persist in going, they will start with the stick throwing and the rock throwing and such. Now, when that happens, that means that what I call is their family unit is nearby. They're going to try to chase you out. They're trying to distract you, so then that family unit can get out of the area as quickly as they can.
Their wood knocks then are kind of like, I don't even know
their
who did it.
Their communication to each
other.
Yes,
it was like a light or a fire. One person sets it off, then people in the distance see it set it off, and then somebody else sees it, sets theirs off. So it travels miles.
Yeah, it'll travel within a very large area. They'll have both ends covered. And then the other way that we'll do it is if we'll get signs, and I don't call them structures because they don't need to build houses and stuff like that because, they're semi-nomadic. But things like these big X's we see, that's a marker. So I will call them tree markers. So that X, and I've seen this time and time again, you go into an area where you get some, what I'll call Bigfoot action. And as soon as you pass that X, or around that general area, they'll stop following you. Okay, you've gone out of their territory. I've seen this time and time again.
Okay, so if you see an X on a tree, you should stay away from that.
Well, you'll know that they've marked out the specific area as theirs. So we'll also see like green tree breaks or green tree fractures. In great apes, orangutans and apes, this is them testing their strength, showing their strength to others that might come into the area. And that pretty much says, I'm strong, and this is how I'm proving it, so you know I've got the strength and the technique, and I'm, this big where I can protect my families.
Let me ask you this real quick, just because it's something that's coming. Sorry, there was a vehicle going by. Obviously, like you said, they have the ability to count and do things like that. Do you think that Sasquatch has the ability to, if not mimic, speak more or less in some sort of human language, or do you think they're not capable because of maybe their physiology, or is it, or have you heard stories where someone has dealt with, say, Bigfoot since they were small kids, and they would kind of talk, and they would begin to have a rudimentary alphabet and communication in that way, or maybe someone who'd learned to speak in, is it Bigfootian? What would you call that?
I have no idea. They can make a wide variety of noises. They can mimic other animals. But my partner, he has one on tape that was in the bushes. In this certain area, they specifically don't like dogs. And this one, and it's actually kind of eerie, and I find it aggressive. It was barking. It wasn't a dog man or anything. What I consider a dog man to me, that is a dog-faced Sasquatch. You see, there was huge baboons as well, that used to run around. During the, and I might have my time wrong on this, just before, just after the last ice age, and they were huge baboons. But I've been hearing about dog-faced Bigfoot since the 1980s. So it just could be a mistaken identity, and they're often classified as being more aggressive than, say, the average Bigfoot. And, baboons can be quite aggressive. I've seen videos where they're, yank things out of tourists' hands in Africa and things like that. So something like that, I don't know, but it wouldn't surprise me. Getting back to the Bigfoot language, we know they jibber-jabber and make all kinds of sounds like crazy, like the Sierra sounds. There's a variety of noises right there. It doesn't sound like language to me. I'm not a linguist. But it could be language to each other that each other understands. Like I've heard that jibber-jabber, or some people call it samurai talk. And it does. It for me, it makes, the hair on my arms stand up, and it's really cool at the same time. But, we don't know what they're saying, but I'm sure each other knows what they're saying.
Well, and it might be a thing, too, of, I don't know, maybe, I know certain cultures just don't have words for certain things, and where it sounds alien to us, and that's a whole other discussion, if they're natural things of this earth, or if they're visitors through some sort of pan-dimensional way, because people talk about, well, they just disappear. So either they're very good at cloaking themselves, or something's going on, unless they, I'm curious how many sightings of Bigfoot, little people, and the like are near openings to caves.
Well, we know that Bigfoots will utilize caves for whatever reason, whether it's to get out of the weather, and I'm sure some of them do use a cave more often than not. But if you're in one spot, you at the risk of being found by humans, and they do avoid us as best as they can. I mean, when for up here, First Nations, it was no big deal. We would see them all the time, and when Europeans came over, and it's like with the little people. I mean, you just start shooting at everything, and they learn to stay away from us. It's quite sad, really.
Well, I mean, we operate on such fear-based stuff a lot of the times. It's there's a spider
we don't know what it is. Let's just shoot it instead of trying to understand it. Like I don't do woo. I mean, that's what you're talking about with portals and things like that. Bigfoots are so excellently, naturally camouflaged. They could step behind a tree. You're not going to see them. I have Bigfoot hair here. Nobody will touch it. I've called many labs, and the one lab that does do it here, as soon as I said Bigfoot, that conversation was over. Okay, I have hair. It's not cloaked. It's not hollow. It's not any of that there, but it is very unique in the way that it looks.
Right.
It's the cuticle, which is the outside of the hair, is very tight, and it's practically waterproof. Okay, so and it's very thick. It's black, brown, a copper color, and a little tiny bit of gray. I mean, and when you look outside into the woods and really look, it's a combination of all those colors.
So that makes me wonder if wherever they test the fur at to tell you what it is, if people that work there at the beginning of their job, they go, okay, you don't test this, you don't test that. It exists, we're not trying to prove it to kill it out or anything. Because there's idiots out there that are like gun happy and go, oh, I just wanted to prove it exists. Like, don't be an idiot. Don't go out killing things just to kill.
Yeah, I despise trophy hunters, and anybody who's listened to me before knows I despise trophy hunters. It's disgusting. It's a waste of life. You go shoot a big cat, you're not going to eat it. I mean, hunters have such respect for the animals that they hunt, and they eat them. So, yeah,
and
I have
try to use everything.
Yes, and I spent a lot of time with a lot of hunters learning how to track and stuff when I was younger. And, you know, that's food for the winter or whatever, but they eat it. It doesn't go to waste. But the trophy hunters, they just want to kill something to say, oh, I killed this such and such.
Yeah.
Okay? Well, I mean, like, elephants, congratulations, you shot a barn.
Yeah.
So, I really have a thing. Well, I love animals, too, and you have to have a certain amount of respect. Like I says, to me, they're like my brothers and sisters. We respect them and we love them. And, you know, at the same time, be cautious and courteous. But just to go out and kill something just to kill it, I mean, I think that's horrible.
Exactly. I was going to say in the last few minutes that we've got, and I don't want to make sure for me to have you mention your sites again and whatnot, but you would have, even here, you know, you'll have somebody shoot a deer, they'll cut the back strap out of it, which is kind of the part that runs along the spine. And as opposed to getting a hold of somebody, you know, because I always tell people, so look, if you're a hunter and, you know, you just want the back strap out, let me know. I'll whittle that thing down to a skeleton and make whatever, you know, grind it up, make sausage or jerky or whatever. And, you know, and it's not even so much for, oh, I want to kill something. It's like, look, we're all part of that circle. And
yeah, it's important to share.
Right. Exactly.
Right, share what you have.
Right. And to me, that shows more of a respect for the animal than, like you said, using it up like a juicy juice bottle or something and throwing it down a hillside.
Yep, exactly. And if we had a bit more respect for animals and more understanding for them, then, you know. But anyway, it's very sad, I think. It's like I said, it's a waste of life, it's a waste of food.
I'm trying to remember the quote. It said something to the effect, and I'm going to butcher it, and I'm sorry, folks. Send a hate mail here. More or less, you can judge a society on how it treats its either poor, the elderly, and its animals. It was something.
Yeah, something like that, yeah.
Yeah. And
I like to think that the majority of people on Earth are above all that there, and we are good to each other as best we can be. So,
right. And
we are learning. Like when we were kids, it was a big deal to be a big game hunter and go out there and, you know, destroy that. That was a big thing.
Yeah. And
now we're learning that you just can't go out and destroy the world because there are consequences to that there.
Right. Well, I mean, that's where you see more, it talks about they're going out to hunt, they're going out to do this and that, but it's also about conservation. You know?
Yes.
So it's starting to, like you said, slowly we're catching up with the natural world. And I'd like to see it.
I also don't want people to think that I'm against hunting animals, okay? Because I absolutely am not. because this is what happens. Like, say, with deer, for instance, if deer become overrun in a certain area, then diseases spread, and then that will spread to, other animals and livestock, and even to us. And it's important, conservation. It's important that we keep the numbers down as well.
Right.
Okay, with the wasting sickness in deer, I mean, that is a horrible thing. It's like mad cow in deer. And it's slowly creeping over into our provinces and our states, and we have to be aware of that. So this is the kind of thing that does happen, unfortunately, when certain numbers of animals are high. Like introducing the wolves back into Yosemite, that has done nothing but good things for the area.
Right.
Just phenomenal, wonderful stuff.
Well, and, like you said,
wolves are a keystone species.
Right. Well, and once you start, like you said, you take a section of the circle out, it degrades. And
even in small parts, yes.
Sure. Well, Robyn, we're unfortunately at the end of this little bit over an hour. First of all, I want to thank you for being a guest on here. Do you want to throw out your web pages and stuff again, and where they can see your new podcast?
It's Strange Realms for myself on Facebook. I do a little bit on MeWe, but not very much. It's also Strange Realms on YouTube. And for our new podcast, it's on YouTube at Strange and Dirty Cryptid Podcast. And we also have a Facebook page, same name.
Awesome. I tell you what, if you want to stick around, I'll do this outro, and I'll be right back with you. And everybody, Robyn Moonshadow, wonderful lady, very knowledgeable lady, and very much connected. Reminds me of some of my mom's family. They know that there's, what's the old biblical thing? There's a time to sow. There's a time to, So there's you have the bright and the dark. There's that duality in life that's just part of it. And she definitely seems like she's touched in on it. But I do want to thank you again for being a guest.
Well, thank you for having me. And I would like just to stay safe, everybody. It's a rough time for the whole world, but keep on keeping on, and we'll all get through this.
That's it. All right, I'll talk to you in just 1 minute, guys. And there we are, everybody. Miss Robyn Moonshadow. Make sure to check out strangerooms.net and the Strange and Dirty podcast. But what I want you guys to do, if it is bright where you're at now, I want you to go out there and enjoy that sunlight. Get some of that sun on your face. Don't let the pandemic get you down. Stay safe, but stay positive. Don't let fear get you. There's things to be learned in fear, but to let it cripple you is counterproductive. But I do want you, as the sun sets and the shadows grow long behind the pines, make sure to check under your bed, in your closet, down the back way. You never know, there may be some giant freaky Congo spider there, but probably not. It's okay. We're not in the Congo, most of us. But until next time, stay scared, everybody.